Okay folks, it's the next day and we're back working on this thing a little bit. So far we have gotten the other brackets made but not welded on for the panhard bar, and I think I'm going to actually lower this bracket a little bit to get it a little straighter. It's not terrible, but I didn't want to make this one any taller because I don't want it to bottom out and hit the top of the frame, but I think we're going to be fine. So, and then we made some plates to gusset the frame in on the sides. Just drilled some holes in them. That's a 1/4 inch plate, but we lightened it up a bunch. So that was something that I was wanting to do because I extended that frame back because I wanted my X-frame still in it. So we're trying to build this one strong. So anyway, that's where we're at. We're going to start getting some stuff welded in and keep cleaning up. All the parts are ready, cleaned up for the rear end. Put it back together, but it's going to be a little bit before we do that. So we'll probably do this, and then we're going to probably jump up to the engine, start trying to figure out how we're going to mount it. So let me get this stuff tacked in, welded in where we want it. All right, I got this side welded in. We've got the wheel off because we're making the other bracket for the other side for the caliper. So hopefully we'll have it done here in a few minutes, and then we can get everything back together. I've gotten the mount welded on. Most everything's welded up. I still got to go in and grind the back side of this frame off and cap it and do everything I need to do there. We're moving along anyway. All right. Okay, folks. Getting ready to call it a night, but we've rethought this whole situation a little bit about the that Triumph body. I think what we're going to do is sort of make this an altered dragster. What do you think, Noel?
I think we should.
Will you sit back there?
Yeah.
Can we put rollers on your butt in case it comes up?
Yeah, right here. I don't see no problem.
No problem?
No,
okay.
Your passenger seat.
Passenger seat, mother-in-law seat. Yeah. We won't say much about that. But anyway, we've got our other gusset in over there. Went ahead and made our other bracket for our caliper that we didn't make to match this side. So both wheel calipers are on, and for anybody that don't know, them are what were they? Range Rover, Land Rover?
Land Rovers.
Land Rovers. So that's done, and everything's looking good. I don't see any issues so far, and like I said, we've got to get to work on getting the engine mounted up and stuff. It just took us a little longer to make these brackets and pull the wheels off and do all the stuff we needed to do. So, like I said, I think the panhard bar is going to be fine where it's at, and I don't see any issues. So, alright, I'm going to wrap it up for the night, and I'll probably do a little bit more on it tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to leave the noisy heater running while I'm videoing here. Getting ready to start on the front motor mount, and one thing I'm going to do is take this motor plate off, and I'm actually going to build a different style mount. I don't like the way that it comes out and over my A-frames because I need to redo these upper A-frame mounts. I just don't like them. I mean, I could get by with them, but I don't like them. So we're going to probably do them a little different. So now I think I'm going to design a mount that comes from the bottom up to the original 4 front motor mount holes. I don't know, some of you may not know that GM used to use them 4 bolts as motor mounts originally, and they did for years, even in the 2-ton trucks. They did up into the 80s, I believe, maybe after that. Anyway, we're going to build a mount that mounts into the cross member. It's going to help support the cross member, plus it's going to give us our engine mounts we need. And I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet, but we're going to figure it out. So first thing we'll do is take this engine plate off and get it out of my way so I can get to work on it. All right. Okay, this is what I've come up with. This is actually going to get permanently mounted down in. Not the cardboard, but a steel piece just like it. Get it where I want. We're going to actually make this part of a cross member. And then we're going to come up with brackets off of this and bolt them to it and bolt them to the engine to hold the engine in. So the engine's got to go back a little bit more than what I've got it. But anyway, and then we'll tie it together down here with the cross member. That way it'll be a full support. Give us some strength, and because this stuff is pretty thin and these bolt in, and I don't want them bolted in, I want them welded in. They actually bolt to the frame. Noah's cutting it out now, and we're going to get it ground, and then we'll start fabricating the other pieces for it. And I'll show you more. All right, folks, so here's what we've got. This is the front motor mount. The difference between this one and most of them is these pieces bolt in. And the reason I've done that, this gets welded in solid, and then these will unbolt. That way we can get the engine right out of the front without any, any issues. So now what we got to do is go ahead and get this back in place. And I was going to put these in front and make it easier to pull them out when I pulled the engine if I ever needed to, but the distance where I need it, they need to be behind. So we're going to leave it like that. I'll go ahead and get it bolted on, get this down in, we'll clean it up, get it welded on, and then I'll show you what we're dealing with. Okay, we've officially got the front mount where we want it and how we want it. And as you can see, it's all bolted in, all grade 8 bolts. And we've got to weld the lower section in, and that, like I said, that's going to strengthen up this cross member tremendously. And that's a big word for me. But anyway, let me see. The reason I wanted to do this, of course, I said before, I want to have some clearance because I'm going to raise these A-frames up at the inside to make them the way that I want them. And that should work out fine. And let me see. Alright, we got clearance issues, which I knew we was going to have. Well, first let me explain some people that don't understand. And I've explained it before, so some of you have already heard this. This is actually considered an underslung frame, suspension setup, because the center of the axle is higher than the frame. And same way with the back. As you can see, the center of the axle is higher than the frame. So that's why the engine looks like it, it's sitting up real high, because it really is. It's sitting off the engine. It's not sitting that high, in comparison to what it would normally be, because your frame rails would be running through here, closer to the top of your A-frame. So it's actually right. But here's what our issue is. I've had to keep this thing so narrow so I could get my rear end like I wanted it, and get clearance and everything to get these big tires under that little car, that our frame is close up here. I knew this was going to be an issue. I didn't know how bad it was going to be, and it's actually not as bad as I thought. But we're going to have to come into this frame some to get our starter clearance, to get our bolts in and everything on our starter. Our starter will clear, but we're not going to be able to get the bolt in on the outside. So the plan is, and the plan was, we're going to go on the outside of this frame and put a piece of 3-inch and bring it in and weld it in. And then we can go in and cut the inside and then, weld a cap in there to make it right. And I was just going to do this side and run a little short filter on it. But I think if we do both sides at the same time, I can go down a little bit and actually clearance out a little bit farther for the filter. I could run a remote filter too, but no use on it when we can knock it out. So that's the plan now. I actually made these brackets for mounting back here up to the engine plate, but if we put the other pieces on, it may bring them out some. So luckily we haven't done that yet, and we haven't cut off our engine plate yet, so we're going to be fine on these. So, alright, you got a piece of 3-inch? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start working on a piece of 3-inch to get in there, and I'm going to mark it and cut it and start on it. Alright. Okay, we've got the starter side on. Let's see what we've done there. And that way I don't feel so worried about actually coming into here and clearancing for the bolt to be able to get in and get started. We've only got to go down about 1 inch, maybe a little over 1 inch. But we'll do that, we'll mark it, and then we'll do that when we pull the engine out. But anyway, the rear mount. Okay, here's what we got now. Everything we've done this stuff out of really has been used steel. We don't We're not buying any new stuff for it. I bought some 2x3 tubing that I worked with, and I think I bought some 2x2. That's just because I didn't have any scrap. But basically, this is what we're going for. We're going to drill and bolt this to the plate, weld it to the frame, and then we'll cut the end off there. So we'll go ahead and get on that and get this side done, bolted in. All right. Okay, folks, I've gotten both sides done now. So we've got the transmission mounted back here. I've got the rubber mount in the back. That is all ready to go. Just need to weld the plate down. And then, let me see, front's finished, of course. Except for welding the lower plate in. But it's actually sitting on top of the inner part of the frame. There's a little ledge there of the original frame, so it's sitting down flat on it. I've just got it pulled forward and clamped so we can weld it, but that's finished up. So anyway, never get as much done as we'd like to get done, but you know, it is what it is. And this will allow us to go ahead and make our clearance we need for our starter and our oil filter. I could have ran a remote filter, but like I said, I didn't really want to. Didn't want to spend the extra money on it. We're trying to do this on a budget, and so anyway, I think that'll work out fine. Engine's not going to go anywhere, and we'll just keep at it. So next, I guess, will be the front upper A-frames, and we've also got to raise this bumper, these supports up 2 inches, and I believe I'm going to do that here because I want extra room for the radiator. I don't want to raise it up back this way, but our body is actually lifted exactly 2 inches off the frame, so we've got to lift that up 2 inches so our tilt front end goes back on like it needs to. So we'll work on that, work on the front suspension, and we may or may not, probably won't build the headers until after, you know, once I get everything welded up on the frame. I won't weld it up. I'm going to pull it all back down, and we're going to go ahead and go through the frame, weld it up, and finish everything up on it, paint it, and we'll get it back together. So anyway, I'll show you more as we go. I appreciate you, everybody watching. Till next time, bye.